ओ जी 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 जी
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi ala ni'matil islami wa kafa biha ni'ma. All praise and gratitude be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his blessing of Islam, which suffices as a blessing. Now, I'd like to welcome you for this program, which is going to run through the entire Ramadan. Inshallah, the objective of this program is to simply go through the translation of Quran, so that we can really know what this book is telling us. To be honest, to get guidance from a book, you must really understand what is the message of the book. And then I'm going to give a very brief explanation where it's really necessary to understand what is the reference of context. But the whole program is going to be about what Quran is telling us, just teaching the message. Now we're going to begin with the first surah, and that is Surah Al-Fatiha. And this in many ways is a very unique surah because first the Quran begins with this surah, and then we are obligated to read this surah. We have to recite it in every first prayers that we do, and if we are doing only the first prayers, it means that we are reciting Surah Fatiha at least 17 times in a day. Now, Surah Al-Fatiha has many names, which is the word, Fatah is also there, which means that it's the opening surah. It's also called Asasul Quran. It is also called Shafiya. It's also called Al-Kafiya. It's called Kitab. It's also called Quran. So these many names really signifies the importance of this surah. Now, in Surah Fatiha, what you will see is that mankind is divided in three different categories. The first group is those group which is called An'amta alayhim, those people who have received guidance. So this is the greatest ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to this group. The second group is Ghayril Maghdubi alayhim. These are people who did receive guidance, but then they distorted it. And then the third group, which is the Dwalleen, people who had knowledge, who have knowledge, but then they exceeded the limits and boundaries set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's begin with Surah Al-Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name of Allah, the all beneficent, the all merciful. Now, any act, what Quran is telling us is any act that begins with the name of Allah, then we will have the blessings and barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So anything that we do, really Muslims are instructed that they must begin with the word Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. All praise be to Allah, the Rabb of the worlds. The word alham that comes in over here, this is brought as a tarif, which is as thanks, and that's the first lesson. The very first lesson that Quran is teaching its followers is to be thankful, to be shukr guzar. That whenever any good reaches us, it should be as a pleasant surprise to us, not that it's my right, I deserve it, not because it's my planning, my ambition, my execution. And this also prevents lots of other things. There are certain negative emotions like jealousy, like hasad, like envy, because we will always see people around us who are better than us, who have more goodness than we have. And then we'll see these people, we know that this goodness that they have is given to them by their creator, by their Rabb. And should we desire, we know whom to ask. Now, how does thankfulness manifest itself in us as people? How does it change our personality? Well, it completely changes our nature. We become much more good-natured people. Our fitra changes because we will have the good temper. Our mizaj will be good. We will be happy. And then when we will go through difficulties, as we all would go through difficulties at in some point in our life, we would remember the many blessings that Allah has given us, and we'll be able to bear this out with lot of ease. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the Beneficent, the Merciful. So Allah introduces Himself with His sifat, the being that He is the All Beneficent, the All Merciful. Maliki Yawmiddin, the Master of the Day of Judgment, the Day of Accountability, when every small and every large deed, every good deed, every sinful deed will be judged, and then reward and punishment will be by the one who is all knowledgeable. Not only knowledgeable, He is also the All Powerful, the Malik. So He is the King of the Kings, who has complete knowledge and complete ability to really reinforce His decisions. Now, I think we do realize, I think in this life that this world is not a place for reward or punishment. Because what reward can you give to a person who spent his entire life spreading this religion or Islam, our Prophet ﷺ, for all the good deeds that he did? And what punishment can you give to someone who murders hundreds and thousands of people just life? Is that fair? Is that justice? And we see that this world, this universe is based on justice. So there has to be a day. If you think even logically, you know there has got to be another day when full justice will be done, and then people will get, reward for what they have done or be punished for what they have done. Now, this belief in the hereafter makes it so easy for us to work hard, even when we know that we will not get any worldly reward for it. And also, it similarly also puts in this kind of fear inside us and the fear of accountability that whatever sin we do, small or large, the punishment would for this sin may be there on the day of judgment unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives us. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, you alone we worship and you alone do we turn for help. The first act, the first ibadat, the first dua that is over here, we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one through whom we can ask for everything, for all help. So when we make a dua to Allah, ask Him for help, this delights Him. This is really pleasing to Him because no one can give us besides Allah. And if we are obedient, we are only obedient to you. That's what we are telling Him from our side, that we will be obedient to you and ask Him. And we not only are obedient, but that we remain obedient. That's also part of our prayers. Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim. And what do we pray? The first thing, oh Allah, guide us to the straight path. So what is the straight path is a relative term. It really depends what my objectives are, wherever I want to go, and the path that leads straight to that's the straight path. So if our objective is a peaceful life, if our objective in this world is a peaceful life, and in the next world to be with people of paradise, then that's the path that we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because there are infinite paths in this world. As we lead this life, and we all know there are infinite paths, all of them mislead us, take away from our Rabb, and the only one path is the Sirat al-Mustaqim, which is the straight path that leads us to the right objective and to the right destination. Sirat al-Lazina anamta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladwalleen, the path of those whom you have blessed, and not of those on whom you have incurred your wrath, nor of those who have gone astray. So three people defined over here as people who have the blessing of Allah, and the greatest blessing being that they are rightly guided. They know the Sirat al-Mustaqim, not of those who have incurred your wrath or the anger of Allah, and not those who have gone astray. And one of the greatest blessings that Allah can give anyone is the name of Islam. Now let's begin with the second surah of Quran, which is the longest surah, Surah Al-Baqarah, the longest surah. It literally means a cow, if you were to look at the translation. And it has lots of Sharia, it has lots of laws, and as we go through these laws, you will understand what does the Sirat al-Mustaqim comprise of? What do we really need to do from our side? So the first ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah, Alif Lam Mim, these are three words that I just recited in Arabic. Huruf muqatta'at, these are isolated letters or symbols, the meaning of which is not known. It is only known to Allah and His Messenger. However, there is no commentary, no companion asked our Prophet for explanation of what these letters were. There's no authentic hadith on this. There are many other ways where people have tried to interpret, but to be honest, the meaning of this is only known to Allah and His Messenger. Having said that, there are 26 surahs in Quran which begin with huruf muqatta'at, and there are 14 alphabets of Arabic which are used in these. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This is a book in which there is no doubt, and it is a guidance for the muttaqi, for the God-fearing. So you see that in the beginning, before the book begins to open the Sirat al-Mustaqim for us, the straight path for us, it's giving us the assurance, is giving the assurance to the readers and the followers that there is no doubt in this book. Because if we have a shadow of doubt about something, we would refrain from going near it. Like even if I'm feeling now and I have a glass of water with me, if I think that water is not pure, the purity of water is questionable, I certainly am not going to drink from that water, because doubts is something that destroy all relationships. So when man reads this book, he must have that full confidence that this is a book, it's a book of guidance. And if we are to doubt a guide, obviously we will probably not follow a guide. If we are not sure whether the guide knows what path to take, we probably will not follow this. So that's the thing that this book is telling us. But who are the people who will be guided? It also says these are the muttaqi, the God-fearing people. So this book will guide those people who have taqwa. And taqwa literally means to fear, to refrain from. And it signifies that we are fearing making Allah angry. That's with our deeds, with our actions, with our intentions. And we are refraining from His transgression. who believe in the unseen and maintain prayer and spend out of what we have provided for them. The unseen, the ghaib that's being described over here. What is ghaib? Ghaib is something that cannot be perceived with our five senses that Allah has given to all of us. It includes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It includes the angels, the day of judgment, the life after death, the Al-Qadr, which is the destiny. Because with no amount of worldly knowledge and science, we can actually prove or disprove any of these. Now, such people, as described in this ayah, they show their belief by being steadfast. Where they are steadfast in their prayers. That's the first act that they will be demonstrating, that they are steadfast in prayer, because prayer is the center pole of Islam. This is the center pole of Darul Islam, the house of peace. Without this, there is no prayer. In fact, in a hadith, some companions asked our Prophet ﷺ, and our Prophet ﷺ said to them, you know who is ill-fated and deprived? And they said, Allah and His Messenger know best. And he said, our Prophet ﷺ said, the one who leaves his salah. So that's the definition from our Prophet ﷺ of someone who is ill-fated and who is deprived. And those who believe in what has been sent down to you and what has been sent before you and are certain of the hereafter. Now, Islam is a continuation of earlier revealed religion. It's not a new religion. All earlier divine books are true. But since they have been distorted, that's why we cannot follow them now. But they do contain the message of Allah. They do contain the revelations of Allah, and hence they must be believed. And as a Muslim, we must respect them. So our iman, our faith is invalid if we do not accept even one of the previous prophet or one of the previous books. Those follow their Rabb's guidance, and it is they who are successful. As for the disbelievers, it is same to them whether you warn them or do not warn them. They will not have faith. Now here is the disbeliever, is being used as an opposite of iman. So kufr as an opposite of iman. Kufr comes in two ways. Kufr as an opposite of shukr, which is being unthankful, and then kufr as an opposite of iman, which is faith. Allah has set a seal upon their hearings, and there is a blindfold on their sights, and there is a great punishment for them. Now, these people to whom and why is there punishment for them? Why has Allah set a seal upon their hearts and upon their eyes and upon their ears? Because these are the people to whom the message was presented. They understood the message, but for reasons of arrogance or pride or ego or worldly gain, they decided to consciously reject the message. Now, when they did consciously reject the message, what Allah did was to seal the faculties, because it is only through these senses, the senses, we get the ability for guidance. Now, if people intentionally choose to adopt misguidance and do not use these faculties of hearing and seeing and discovering the truth, then these faculties are sealed by Allah. And among the people are those who say we have faith in Allah and the last day, but they have no faith. Now, faith is not just words. It's not just reciting a kalma and saying, "Oh, well, I am now a Muslim." Faith is much more than that. So it's saying the words is one part of it, but that's not enough. It's the deed. It's our deed which must reflect our faith in Allah, our faith in the day after, that there will be a day of accountability. يخادعون الله والذين آمنوا وما يخدعون إلا أنفسهم وما يشعرون. And they seek to deceive Allah and those who have faith, yet they deceive no one but themselves, and they are not aware. Now, this ayah really describing people who, while they claim to be Muslim, are not really Muslim. And I think this is one of the most dangerous category of people that exist on the face of this earth, because historically, munafiqeen have caused so much harm to Islam. That not even the kuffar have caused as much harm as the munafiqeen. In another place in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reveal and say, surely the hypocrites will be in the lowest depth of fire. Next ayah, and there is a sickness in their heart, and then Allah increased their sickness, and there is a painful punishment for them because of the things that they used to do. The root cause of hypocrisy, the Quran describes in this ayah, the root cause of hypocrisy is lying. In a hadith, the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessing be upon him, he was asked by the companion, he was asked by some of the companions, can a Muslim be a coward? And our Prophet replied, yes. And then he was asked, can a Muslim be a miser? And our Prophet said, yes. And then he was asked for the third time, can a Muslim be a liar? And our Prophet said, no. So I think this is where you really realize that lying is a disease, it's a disease of the heart. And this is where the manifestation of lying comes in hypocrisy. And this hypocrisy is also there because when people lie, then and they also show, display extreme love for this life, my property must be protected, even if it is at the cost of Islam. This leads people to hypocrisy. And when they are told, do not cause corruption in the earth, they say, we are only reformers. Look, they themselves are the agents of corruption, but they are not aware. And when they are told, believe like people who have believed, they say, shall we believe like fools who have believed? Look, they themselves are the fools, but they do not know. Now, Islam is known to be a religion which is being practiced by many righteous people and the companions of our Prophet ﷺ. So deeds and beliefs which depart from their faith and with their practice, however pleasing these deeds may look, however pleasing or good these intentions may be, but they will not be valid because Islam is a religion which has been practiced historically for the last 1441 years. And when they meet the faithful, they say, we believe. But when they are alone with their shayateen, they say, we are with you. We were only mocking them. It is Allah who mocks them and leaves them in bewildered in their rebellion. So Allah leaves people onto the mercy of their own nafs, on their own beliefs and their own hypocrisy. They are the ones who brought error for guidance, so their trade did not profit them, nor were they guided. مثلهم كمثل الذي استوقد نارا فلما أضاءت ما حوله ذهب الله بنورهم وتركهم في ظلمات لا يبصرون. And their parable is that of one who lighted a fire and then it lit up all around him, and Allah took away their light and left them sightless in total darkness. Now, what Quran is really telling us is that these are hypocrites by choice in whom disbelief has taken a deep root. They have little inclination towards Islam, but they pretend to be Muslims for their worldly motive. So Quran compares such people to people who have found light and then they intentionally chose to close their light and then they were left in darkness. So such people were consciously rejecting the nur of guidance and so they chose misguidance over guidance. Summum bukmun umyun fahum la yarji'un. Deaf, dumb and blind, they will not return back. Deaf to the truth, their tongues they have tongues but they do not speak the truth. They have eyes but they are blind to the reality. And if there is a saying in English, if you don't use it, you lose it. So these faculties are there for us to search for the truth. When people do not, then Allah will put a seal and the people will lose it. Or that of a rainstorm from the sky wherein is darkness and thunder and lightning, and they put their fingers in their ears due to thunderclap, apprehensive of death, and Allah besieges the faithless. So these are people of weak faith. They like Islam, they want to practice Islam, but then they are also afraid of the difficulties and the thunder that is there. And sometimes there are challenges, and sometimes there are sacrifices. So while they do have a will, it is a weak will. While they do have a faith, the faith is not that strong to bear the difficulties. The lightning almost snatches away their sight. And whenever it shines for them, they walk in it, and when darkness fall upon them, they stand. Had Allah willed, He would have taken away their hearing and their sight, and indeed Allah has power over all things. So Quran here is referring to people with weak faith and counseling them and telling them they're not beyond the power of Allah, that He can, and if He wills and chooses to, He can take accountability of them. O mankind, worship your Lord who has created you and those before you, so that you may save yourself. So Quran's reminder to it, think about it, who created you? Very simple question being asked here. It is your Lord. Everyone will say, someone has really created me. I didn't come into existence on my own. And that's what Quran reminds us over here. And then Allah introduces Himself. He who has made this earth a resting place for you and a sky and as a canopy, and sent down water from the sky, and with it He brings forth crops for your sustenance. So do not set equals to Allah while you know. And if you are in doubt concerning what we have sent down upon our servant, then bring a surah like it and invoke helpers besides Allah if you are truthful. So Quran puts a straight challenge to people. Produce a passage, produce a surah resembling or equaling Quran. I think one of the most beautiful thing about Quran is the great transformational impact that it has on people. It has brought dramatic changes in individual, in their life, in collective lives.
Quran is a living miracle. Quran is a mercy for all mankind. Quran shows us the path to peace. Quran is a speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Life is a very difficult thing, and I think this is one of the greatest miracle of Quran, that when people get absorbed with it, their life completely transforms. Look at the companions, their lives before and after the advent of Islam. Look at Hazrat Abu Bakr, look at Hazrat Umar, look at Hazrat Ali. Look what they were before and look what they were after Islam. And this is the magic, this is the magical power of Islam to transform people. So after giving this challenge, Allah then responds to this challenge in ayat number 24 and says, if you do not, which means if you cannot produce, if you do not and you will not, then beware of a fire whose fuel will be men and stone prepared for the faithless. And give good news to those who have faith and do righteous deeds, that for them will be gardens with stream running in them. And whenever they are provided with their fruits for nourishment, they will say, this is what we were provided before. And they will be given something resembling it, and in it will be chaste mates for them, and they shall remain in it forever. Indeed, Allah is not ashamed to draw a parable, whether it is that of a mosquito or something more insignificant. As for those who have faith, they say, it is the truth from my Lord. And as for the faithless, they say, what did Allah mean by these parables? Thereby He leads many astray, and thereby He guides many. But He leads no one astray except those who are transgressors. And the next ayat gives the traits of the transgressors. Those who break the covenant with Allah after having pledged it solemnly, and sever what Allah has commanded to be joined, and cause corruption on this earth, it is they who are the losers. So Quran instructs us, fulfill your obligation, fulfill your promises, fulfill your covenants. And these covenants are with Allah, which is what we call hukuk Allah, recognition of Allah, and that recognition is programmed inside all of us. It's there in our gene. It's God given or gene given. It's there. We all know that there is a creator. And then these hukuk are also of the creation of Allah. There is of the servants of Allah, hukukul ibad. There's of our Prophet ﷺ where our Prophet said, one who desires that his life should be long, he should join blood ties. So this is how important hukukul ibad is. How can you be unfaithful to Allah, seeing that you were lifeless and then He gave you life, and then He will give you death, and then He will bring you back to life, and then you will be brought back to Him. And Quran really expresses a surprise over here at the disbelief of people. Think what you were, think what you will be in a few years. For each one of us, what we were a few years ago and what we will be a few years from now. See, primary blessing that we have right now is the blessing of life, that we are alive. We still have. When we came into this world not because of our own choice. We came into this world because of the will of Allah. When we go back from this world, again we will go back from this world not because we want to go back, because this will be the will of Allah. So why ignore the will of Allah when we are leading this life? We never came with without His will. We will not go back without His will. So we need to lead this life also with His will. It is He who has created for you all that is in the earth, and then He turned to the heaven, fashioned it into 7 heavens, and He has knowledge of all things. And Quran here comes in with a beautiful reminder. Look at the temporary world that you are living in. The few years, the 50, the 60, the 70, the 100 maximum years that you will live in this world. What a perfect world. And what a beautiful world. So you can imagine, for a temporary world has so much beauty in it. So what would be a permanent world be like? You can imagine that. And now we begin with the story of creation of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, the first of the man, our forefather, our parent, the first parent that we had. And when your Lord said to the angels, indeed, I am going to create a viceroy on the earth. They said, will you set in it someone who causes corruption in it and shed blood, while we celebrate your praise and proclaim your sanctity? He said, indeed, I know what you do not know. So here Quran, just note the reply of the angels. Instant reply of the angels were, this was not an objection from the angel. Rather, they were actually asking this question out of curiosity. Why are you really creating Allah? Why are you creating a viceroy on this earth? Why are you doing this? More out of curiosity, in order to really understand the wisdom of such choice. What is the wisdom of Allah's choice over here? What do we learn from here? What we learn is that when doubts come to our mind, it is natural. Even doubts came in the mind of the angel. And when doubts do come into our mind, and they will come into our mind, what do we need to do? We need to turn to Allah. We need to turn to Him and ask us. If we fail to see the wisdom of something, we fail to see a wisdom of any revelation, we need to ask Allah of Him. He will provide the answer for any doubts that we have. And he taught Adam's names of all things, and then he presented him to the angels and said, tell me the names of these if you are truthful. So Quran tells us that man is a learning creature. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself gave all the knowledge to Hazrat Adam alayhi salam. The first knowledge that was given to Hazrat Adam alayhi salam was the knowledge of this world, the knowledge of the universe. And this knowledge is inside all of us. We are only discovering it. All these new changes, things that we are discovering, is this knowledge is there. We are only discovering this knowledge. And they said, glory be to you. We have no knowledge except what you have taught us. Indeed, you are the all-knowing, the all-wise. And he said, O Adam, inform them of their names. And when he informed them of their names, he said, did I not tell you that I indeed know the unseen of the heavens and the earth? And I know whatever you disclose and whatever you conceal. وَإِذْ قُلْنَا لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ أَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. And when we said to the angels, prostrate before Adam, do sajda of Adam, they prostrated but not Iblis. He refused and acted arrogantly, and he was of the faithless. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs the instructions given to all those who are present in the court of Allah when Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, after his creation and becoming a knowledgeable creation, was presented, was not to worship him, but it was more to show respect. This is the kind of izzat Allah has given to all of us. That's the izzat that He has provided to each one of the human beings. خَلَقْتَهُ بِيَدَيْ, I created him out of my own two hands, so beautifully. So how can we think of doing things which are below our dignity? We are the Ashraful Makhluqat. We are the highest creation of Allah. It really doesn't suit us to stoop down and do things which are below our dignity. And the other thing that we learn from this ayat is that the first sin that was committed in paradise, in the court of Allah, the first was the sin of arrogance. This is what got shaitan out from the court of Allah. That's the sin of arrogance. And we said, O Adam, dwell with your wife in paradise and eat in it freely wherever you wish, but do not approach this tree, lest you are among the wrongdoers. So Quran tells us that Hazrat Adam alayhi salam's stay in Jannah was symbolizing the life of this earth. He was just being trained over there. Everything was halal except the fruit of the tree. And that's how it is in this world. And then shaitan caused them to stumble from it, and he dislodged them from what they were in. And we said, which means Allah said, get down being enemy of one another, which means man and shaitan being enemy of one another. On the earth shall be your abode and a sustenance for a time. So the knowledge of universe that was given to Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, couldn't save him from the trap of shaitan. He had all the knowledge, yet the shaitan's trap was there. فَتَلَقَّى آدَمُ مِنْ رَبِّهِ كَلِمَاتٍ فَتَابَ عَلَيْهِ إِنَّهُ هُوَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. And then Adam received certain words from his Rabb, so Allah accepted his repentance, and indeed He is the all-repenting and all-merciful. Here Quran tells us that Hazrat Adam alayhi salam learned, Allah taught him to even ask for forgiveness. So this is what Hazrat Adam teach us, what we should do if we commit a sin. This is what is being taught to us. When we commit a sin, and human beings are weak and we do commit sins, the first thing we need to do is turn to Allah and ask for His forgiveness. And this tawbah and forgiveness, for this it is a combination of things that we must understand. First is for a true tawbah, for true forgiveness, we must acknowledge to ourselves and to Allah that we have committed a sin, and we must regret it. We shouldn't really feel proud about it. We shouldn't feel egoistic about the sins that we may have done in the past. Number two, we must give up that sin altogether. We must promise to ourselves, promise with Allah that this sin that we have committed, intentionally or unintentionally, we will give this up. And thirdly, we should make up our mind that never we will ever indulge in it. That's the true tawbah. That's true forgiveness to ask from Allah. And we said, get down from it altogether. Surely there will come to you a guidance from me, and those who follow my guidance shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. But those who are faithless and deny our signs, they shall be the inmates of fire, and they shall remain in it forever. And now we're going to begin with the story of Bani Israel. O children of Israel, remember my blessings which I have bestowed upon you, and fulfill your covenants, that I may fulfill your covenants, and be in awe of me alone. So Quran mentions over here the blessings that were there on Bani Israel, which is the Jews of our time, that Allah sent. What are the blessings that Allah gave to them, that Allah is reminding? One, He sent many messengers to them. Many prophets came to them to guide them. And that's the highest of the blessing that is. And then the rise of Bani Israel in this world. You know, historically, it's one of the most remarkable things to see the resilience of this race. All great empires that came, they have ceased to exist. Think about the Romans, think about the Greeks, think about the Assyrians, think about the Persians. And this small race, against all odds, has continued. Today, there are only 12 million Jews in this world, and how extremely talented they are. And this is a blessing that Allah has given to them, that they are, in a way, they have that creativity and ability. And believe in that which I have sent down, confirming that is that which is with you, and do not be the first one to defy it, and do not sell my signs for a paltry gain, and be wary of me alone. And do not mix truth with falsehood, nor conceal the truth while you know. And maintain prayers, and give zakat, and bow down with those who bow down. So Quran here is reminding us that all divine religions that Allah has sent, they all have prayers. Like we have 5-time prayers. Jews pray three times a day. In other religions, the revealed religion, there is a prayer which is an act of ibadat, an act of worship. Will you bid others to piety and forget it yourself while you recite the book? Do you not apply reason? Quran message over here is what? Walk your talk. You talk of piety, you with piety. You become pious people. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ, and take recourse in patience and in prayers. And indeed, this is hard except for those who are humble. So I think if you look at this ayah, it really tells us two things. One, Quran's emphasis on sabr, on patience, and there are different types of sabr. Sabr on obedience, that I will be steadfast. Sabr on temptations will come to me. There are things I desire, I will do sabr on them. And then finally, sabr on trials and tribulation. And what does Quran says? Who are the people who will benefit from this? Those who are patient in their prayers. No one will benefit except those people who are humble. They are not arrogant, and they will benefit from the sabr and salat. Those who are certain that they will meet their Lord and that they will return to Him. O children of Israel, remember my blessings which I have bestowed upon you, and that I gave you an advantage over all nations. And beware of the day when no soul shall be compensated for another, neither any intercession shall be accepted from them, nor any ransom will be received from them, nor will they be helped. You will be all alone. What Quran is really telling us is, remember, you will be all alone. You will have no one to support you. You will have no ransom to give. You will have no intercession. You will be alone standing and give your accountability. And then talking about Bani Israel and the favors, and when we delivered you from the people of Pharaoh, who inflicted terrible torments on you and slaughtered your sons and spared your women, and in that there was a great test from your Rabb. And when we parted the sea for you, and we delivered you and drowned the Pharaoh's people as you looked on. And when we made an appointment for Moses for 40 nights, you took up a calf for worship in his absence, and you were the wrongdoer. See how important a strong leader is in any community. Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, after all his work that he has done of freeing Bani Israel, takes them around, and then he leaves for 40 days, and these people start to indulge into in worshipping of a calf. This is how important it is in communities, in our homes, in our countries to have strong leaders. And then we pardon you after that so that you may become grateful. And when we gave Moses the book and the criterion so that you might be guided. And recall when Moses said to his people, O my people, you have indeed wronged yourself by taking the calf for worship. Now turn in repentance to your maker and kill those who are among you. That will be better for you with your maker. And then he accepted your repentance, and indeed he is all relenting and all merciful. Now Quran tells us that when Musa alayhi salam he returned back from he was invited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Mount Tur, and soon as he left people and people returned back to their old ways, he went for 40 days, and then they started to do what they had seen the people of Pharaoh doing, which is worship of deities. And when you said, O Moses, we will not believe you until we see Allah visibly. Thereupon a thunderbolt seized you as you looked on. Then we raised you up after your death so that you may give thanks. And we shaded you with the clouds, and we sent down on you manna and quails. Eat of the good things we have provided for you. And they did not wrong us, but they used to wrong only themselves. Quran reminds us that Allah expects us to be grateful. He will give us lots of good things. We have got lots of good things in our life, but we have to be grateful for all the blessings that He has given to us. Further on, Quran says, and when we said, enter this town and eat in it freely wherever you wish, and enter prostrating at the gate and say, relieve us from the burden of our sins so that we may forgive your sin, and soon we will enhance the virtuous. But the wrongdoers changed the saying with other than what they were told. So we sent upon those who were wrong a plague from the sky because of the transgression that they used to commit. So Quran tells us that this plagues that comes down, even the corona of our time, they are sent down because people openly start to distort the word of Allah. It's the open distortion of word of Allah that's taking place, which is why these plagues are coming down from the sky. And when Moses prayed for water for his people, we said, strike the rock with your staff. 12 fountains gushed forth from it. Every tribe came to know its drinking place. Eat and drink of Allah's provision, and do not act wickedly on the earth, causing sin. And when you said, O Moses, we will not put up with one kind of food, so invoke your Rabb for us, that he may bring forth for us of that which the earth grows, its greens, its cucumber, its garlic, its lentil, and its onions. He said, which is Hazrat Musa alayhi salam said, he said, do you seek to replace what is superior with that which is inferior? Go down to any town and you will indeed get what you ask for. So they were stuck with abasement and poverty, and they earned the wrath of Allah. That is because they would defy the signs of Allah and kill His prophets unjustly, and because they would disobey and used to commit transgression. إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئين من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Indeed, those who believe, the Jews, the Christians, and the Sabians, whoever believes in Allah and the last day and acts righteously, they shall have their reward from their Rabb, and they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. So warning us that the Jews and the Christians and the Sabians, they were the Muslims of their time. They were all Muslims. They were the Muslims of their time. Hence, they will be judged according to their deeds and according to their actions. Islam, as I said earlier, is a continuation of earlier religions that were brought in by Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, and all the prophets who have since been Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have always preached one religion, and that's the religion of Islam. And when we took a pledge from you and raised mountain above you, declaring, hold on with power what we have given to you, and remember that which in it, so that you may fear. Then after that you turned away, and were it not for Allah's grace upon you and His mercy, you would surely have been among the losers. And certainly you know those who violated the Sabbath, whereupon we said to them, be apes, despised and rejected. Here, Quran is actually just referring to a transgression on part of the Jews, which brought back a very dreadful punishment on them. was not because they would openly breach divine commandments or breach any law that is there, but it was a trick, what we call in Urdu a hila. This was a hila that used to do, which involved negation of the divine commandment, not completely breaking the law, but actually finding ways around the law. So you are not obedient to the law, but you're not actually breaking the law, so that your conscience doesn't prick. Now the danger of this is when people indulge in hila, they will also never have the chance to ask for forgiveness. So we made it an exemplary punishment for the present and the succeeding generation, and advice for those who fear. And when Moses said to his people, indeed, I command you to slaughter a cow, they said, do you make fun of us? He said, I seek Allah's protection, lest that I should be among the senseless. They said, invoke to your Lord for us, that he may clarify us what she may be. He said, he says, she's a cow, neither old nor young, of middle age. Now do as you are commanded. They said, invoke your Lord for us, that he may clarify for us as to what her color may be. He said, he says she's a cow that is yellow, of bright hues, pleasing to the onlookers. They said, invoke your Rabb for us, that he may clarify for us what she may be. Indeed, all cows are much alike to us, and if Allah wishes, we would surely be guided. He says, she is a cow not broken to the till of the earth, or water the tillage, sound and without blemish. They said, now you have come to us with the truth, and they slaughtered it, though they were about not to do it. So you see, deen is simple. Commandments of Allah are simple. We need to be people who hear and obey. When people question too much, when people question commands too much, these commandments become complicated. Because Bani Israel were in no intention, they had no intention of slaughtering a cow. So they kept answering questions till the time that question led them to the cow that was dearest to them. And that's how religion becomes complicated. When we raise doubts, when we raise unnecessary questions, we are not obedient, but we are just procrastinating. That's what it happens to people. And when you killed a soul and accused one another about it, and Allah was about to expose whatever you were concealing, we said, strike him with a piece of it, and thus Allah revives their death, and He shows you His signs so that you may apply reason. ثم قست قلوبكم من بعد ذلك فهي كالحجارة أو أشد قسوة, and then your hearts harden after that, so that they are like a stone, even harder. For indeed there are some stones from which streams gush forth, and indeed there are some from which split and water gushes from them, and indeed there are some which fall down with the fear of Allah. And Allah is not oblivious of what you do. So Quran here compares the human heart with the hardness of a stone. And Quran says even in stone there is some goodness. Even in stone there is some mercy. Even in stone there is some fear. But the hardness of a heart actually surpasses all the stones, the hardness of a stone and the merciless of a stone. For some stones, Quran says they will gush forth water. From some water will flow from them, and some will fear for the fear of Allah. Some will fall down for the fear of Allah. But a person whose heart is hard is the one who will be the most remote from the mercy of Allah. And this comes in, the hardness of heart comes in when people are dodging, when people are bending the rules, when people are looking for loopholes. Are you then eager that they should believe in you, though a party of them would hear the word of Allah and then they would distort it after they have understood it and they knew what they were doing? And then they met, and when they met the faithful, they said, we believe. And when they were alone with one another, they would say, do you recount to them what Allah has revealed to you, so that they may argue with you before your Lord? Do you not apply reason? So Jews would be using this kind of a trick. Come to Muslims, say, well, we understand your message. This is so close to what our Torah is really telling us. But then when they would go back, their people would tell them, why are you really confirming this to them? Why are you really telling them? But what Quran questioned them, do you not know that Allah knows whatever you hide and whatever you disclosed? Now the last ayat that we will do for this evening, inshallah, وَمِنْهُمْ أُمِّيُّونَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ الْكِتَابَ إِلَّا أَمَانِيَّ وَإِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يَظُنُّونَ. And among them are the illiterates who know nothing of the book except hearsay. and they only make conjectures. This is only a guesswork for them. So Quran is really saying lack of knowledge is the reason why people make innovation in this religion. Religion is not what our desires are. Religion is not what our false hopes are. Religion is not what our illusion is. But religion is a book of guidance. So Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quran al-Azim wa nafana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikr al-hakim.